Hey gamers and game makers, welcome to the Squid Shock Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Stair, director at Squid Shock Studios. And before we start today, I want to announce that our game, Bow Path of the Teal Lotus, is participating in the Steam Next Fest right now. So check out the link in the description to download the free demo and let us know what you think. Our very first guest goes by the moniker Mossbag. Mossbag is a prominent YouTuber who has amassed millions of views on his YouTube channel. His name has become almost synonymous for an in-depth analysis of narrative and lore. In particular, the lore of the hit indie game Hollow Knight. He's also one of the head developers at Meatbag Studio, currently developing a new indie game, Titan Shell. In this podcast, we talk the origins of Mossbag's iconic avatar, what Mossbag thinks of the sacrificed Mossbag meme, and of course, his inspirations and experiences while developing his first indie game, Titan Shell. All right, so I'm just going to jump into the first question. Mossbag, welcome. This is something that I've been curious about since I've first became aware of you, is what's the story behind your profile picture that you use, your avatar?
I wish I remembered. I made it in high school, so a decade ago at this point, and I think I just thought it looked cool.
That's a good enough reason for me.
Those sunglasses, that's been a meme for a long time. The deal with it, sunglasses. You don't see it as much anymore, but
that's
10 years ago.
That Snoop Dogg meme with the...
Yeah. Or there was this dog and the glasses slid down from the top of the screen over its eyes, and it's a deal with it.
Man, that must be an earlier iteration of that meme, because I don't know that version.
Okay, yeah, I think this was forever ago.
Circa 2000s?
Yeah, late 2000s.
Oh, okay.
So I remember seeing those sunglasses everywhere, so I just stuck it on a picture. I don't know why I picked the Statue of David.
There's no significance to that whatsoever?
No.
Royalty free, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. There's kind of a type of person who has a statue as their profile picture.
Okay.
Sargon of Akkad maybe is one I can think of.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a good connotation, but I'm kind of stuck with this profile picture now because I've had it for so long.
I think it gives you an air of importance. It's listen to me, but but also don't take me seriously.
Yeah, it's a good this kind of artistic, high class, distinguished sort of mixed with meme. And it just kind of works for the kind of style of content that I make.
For sure, and it's instantly recognizable at this point. So,
yeah,
it's Mossbag. Yeah.
Sometimes I see people who have the Statue of David profile picture without the sunglasses, and it just looks wrong to me. It's what?
Something's missing.
Like in cartoon characters where the person with glasses takes them off and they've got tiny little beady eyes.
Oh, right.
They just look wrong. That's how it is for me when I look at the Statue of David now.
Right. Oh, and another thing about your whole internet persona. Your name is Mossbag, and I wonder where that came from too, because it's a little random. And it's funny because when I was Googling an image for your thumbnail and I typed in Mossbag, I'm sure you're aware of this, but the images, it's just a bunch of babies wrapped up in hippie looking cloths and stuff.
Yeah. I think it's a Native American thing. They have these things called moss bags that they wrap their children in, their babies in, get them all snug and tight. So
that must be bad for your SEO a little bit.
Maybe. I don't think so. I think it's bad for their SEO. I feel bad for these probably random old women who are in the moss bag making community, and they just try to find pictures of nice little moss bags that they can make. And it's just pictures of Hollow Knight now.
Yeah, it must be a jarring experience for them. What's going on here?
Yeah, they're probably very confused, or they're fans now. I'm not sure. Maybe they're all
that's a good way to look
Hollow
at
Knight
it.
Players. So
yeah, you inspired a whole generation of artistic moms, new moms. Yeah.
Yeah, if anyone's made a moss bag with a Hollow Knight character in the design, I would love to see that.
Oh, someone get on that. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a combination of the two Mossbag cultures. So
Yeah, that would come up as the first image in Google image search. It would be great for the SEO. Take it to the next level there.
As for the name, my real name is Mossberg. That's my last name. And this was also in high school. I was in the line at lunch and some random kid yelled at me, "Hey, Mossbag!" And I thought it was so funny. I just started using it on
So
all
it was
of
in like a
my...
friendly way.
It was kind of friendly, kind of mocking. You know, he and I were good friends. Like, we were acquaintances. We didn't hate each other.
Oh,
or
okay,
anything.
okay.
But it was really funny. So I was like,
Yeah, I think settling on Mossbag it worked out.
it did work out. Yeah.
It's a great name. It's really memorable.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings us to our next topic, which is this whole, like, this was a question that some of our Discord members asked, and I'm curious as well, is about this sacrifice Mossbag meme going around. I'm sure you're aware of it. So, like, what's going on with that? Could you give us the little synopsis?
Well, it all started on Reddit, so that's a great way to start things off. It's the Hollow Knight meme subreddit, which is just full of crazy people, absolutely insane people lurk that Discord or lurk that Reddit thread. And this was like 2 years ago now. Someone just made some random comment like, "We need to sacrifice Mossbag to Team Cherry." And it just caught on like wildfire. The next day, someone posted another meme about it, and it just exploded, and it was everywhere.
And now the motivation behind sacrificing you is to make Silksong release earlier?
Yeah. Team Cherry are some kind of ethereal gods living on Mount Australia, and they are bringing my body up to them as offering, and by their grace, they would release Silksong early, I suppose.
So there's a whole lore behind this, actually.
Well, that's just one interpretation. I'm sure there's multiple different, because some people were like, "Oh, well, we need to sacrifice more people," and they were Moss defenders, people who were defending me as well. There was like a whole like divided faction,
the believers and the non-believers, kind of.
Yeah. There was, I think, 2 subreddits came off of it, like the Moss attackers and Moss defenders or something. And so, it's the kind of thing that will be taught in history books.
Oh, for sure.
A very big conflict.
For sure. And have you ever made an official statement on that? Like,
I don't think so.
Like, how do you feel about hypothetically being sacrificed on the internet? If Silksong, if truly it made Silksong release like instantly, would you take the hit?
No. Why would I do that?
I just need an official statement here.
I would not. I do not want to be sacrificed. Right. Because then I can't play Silksong.
That's true, and we wouldn't get the lore drops.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't be good for anyone.
You got to think. You can't have instant gratification. That's not how you want to live. You want to allow things to take their time and appreciate where you are in life and not try and rush towards something off in the distance, And that's kind of what people were doing with the whole sacrifice Mossbag meme. And, that might be worse than killing someone, that kind of mindset. So I don't think anyone should do it.
So there you have it. That's Mossbag's official statement. Human sacrifices, not chill.
But eventually, I don't know, I can probably say this. The moderators reached out to me and made sure I was cool with it, like all the memes and stuff. Because, it is like kind of weird.
It's in a weird spot, yeah, when you talk about human sacrifices.
Yeah.
It's towing that line of edginess and...
Yeah, because some people, they're trying to make a joke, but they don't word it correctly, so it just sounds very threatening and very unhinged.
Right, yeah.
And it's like, okay. There was one guy who drew, it was fan art of me as the statue of David with the sunglasses tied to a stake being burned alive.
Jesus.
And I thought the art was really cool, but a lot of the comments were like, "Dude, you're taking it too far."
Yeah. So you got to pull it back a little bit there. That's kind of the line, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a touchy subject. So I told them like, it's okay for me, but if the subreddit starts doing it for other content creators too much, then I think it should be stopped.
Yeah.
And eventually they did like say, okay, calm down a bit. That was like 2 years ago now.
Really?
So
Oh, I
yeah,
thought it was a more recent thing than that.
no, it's an old meme. It's, you know, you have to be in the Silk Song community for a while, but I like it better now, or I like that. I honestly enjoyed that more than what we have nowadays, which is kind of the r/Silk Song people constantly complaining and actually being upset about the Silk Song delays. Like, I understand it, but that's less fun than just the memes about sacrificing me, in my opinion. Yeah, yeah. There's lots of cool people who are just having fun with it, but there are some people who are very upset right now.
Yeah. Delving
Yeah.
into madness.
Yeah.
I think our next topic is probably going to be more about like your YouTube career and stuff. And we are going to like touch upon this amazing new game that you're working on, Titan Shell, a little bit later.
Of course.
But I'm also curious about kind of how you kind of like rise as a YouTuber. So my first question is like, what was your first video to really pop off?
That's a interesting question because I don't really have the kind of trajectory that some YouTubers have where it's like they make a bunch of videos that go nowhere and then they have one that explodes in popularity. I see that a lot with channels, but mine was kind of a more just gradual building up and up and up as the Hollow Knight community did the same. So like my first video, which if you go back to like a few years back, that first video was definitely the most popular, like where I just talk about the whole lore of Hollow Knight in one video. Those are the kinds of lore videos that people really enjoy. I think people love to just sit down and have one big telling of the whole story.
And that's the first video on your YouTube channel right now, right?
Yep. Hollow Knight lore and plot explained, I think is what it's called.
Parenthetical with outdated.
Parenthesis outdated. Yeah, it's.
Oh, just real quick aside here. Do you have like videos that are like privated that were before that on this channel, or?
Not on this channel, but I did have another channel. You can still find it. It's Sprite User 2009. But I deleted
2009.
Yeah, I made that in like 2008 when I was like 12 or 13. But I deleted all of the videos off of it, so like they're not private; they're just gone. So I when I was a kid, I was making YouTube videos.
What were those videos like? Like what was the genre?
Trash. I'd say my most popular video, which this one actually got 10,000 views at least, maybe even like 100,000 back in the day. It was called Sonic Gets Mail. And it was just this video of Sonic the Hedgehog standing in front of a monitor from the Sonic games. And it's playing the "You've got mail." But then the Shoop da Whoop face shows up and shoots a laser at him.
Oh, classic, like 2009 shit.
Exactly, yeah. Like Shoop da Whoop was I thought that was the funniest thing back in the day. But Shoop da Whoop is completely gone anymore. You can't, like, I never see a Shoop da Whoop meme, which is honestly really sad. The memes that stick around and the memes that disappear, it's not merit based. It's just random.
Yeah, it's not merit based at all.
Yeah, all the Rage comics are gone except for a few. Line Rider, that was a game that was kind of popular. I made a few videos like that. Just random meme stuff.
Oh, I remember
nothing.
That.
Yeah, nothing cohesive.
So at what point did you say like, oh, okay, I need to graduate from that Bright Fuse? What was that channel called?
Oh, Sprite User 2009.
Bright User 2000. Like, what point did you say I need to graduate from that and make a new channel that's a little bit more focused?
A long time afterwards.
So you took a break.
So that was like in middle school or whatever, elementary school. I don't know. When I was a kid, and then I went to college, and it wasn't until after I graduated college that I came back to the YouTube stuff. And the reason I made the Hollow Knight stuff is just because no one else had done a Hollow Knight lore video.
Wow.
And I wanted to watch a Hollow Knight lore video. So since no one had made one, I was like, okay, well, I'll just make one. Because I had always wanted to get back into YouTube, but figuring out the right time and all that stuff had never quite panned out. But the Hollow Knight, playing Hollow Knight, experiencing the lore and not understanding it, and then wanting to watch about it and not finding any videos, it just kind of felt like, okay, this is the time to kind of jump in and try this out.
It was kind of like that Thanos meme. It's like, fine, I'll do it myself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there. Rusty Superforge, he made like a Hollow Knight lore video before me, but about the 5 Great Knights. But he even said in that video, I'm not going to do a whole lore video about the whole game. So I was like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So
cool. And then you just committed to that throughout.
Yeah. And that picked up some steam, and within the Hollow Knight community, I remember like a week or two afterwards on the Discord server, Greg, who's like the lead playtester for Hollow Knight, him and William, one of the devs, said they were going to watch some lore videos. And I remember he was sending me messages as they were watching the Hollow Knight lore video, which was really cool. Like, it was blowing my mind that the developer for Hollow Knight was watching my video. So
yeah, that's pretty insane.
Yeah, and this was very shortly after I posted it.
Well, that's what you get when you're like an early adopter and like the first person to really drop something like that.
Yeah, because Hollow Knight had come out in February, and my video came out in September.
Okay.
So it had been like 7 months.
And back then, like Hollow Knight didn't really gain traction right away. Am I correct in saying that? Like relatively.
I think it had 65,000 copies sold within like the first 2 months. So
yeah, that's really good actually.
It did well. It wasn't until I think there was the Video Game Donkey made a video about it, which got it a lot of attention. That's how I found out about Hollow Knight. And then I think they've also said that the Steam Summer Sale for 2017 was a big push for them. I think they made the game like half off. I think they added a bunch of languages in an update. So then in the summer it got more popular.
Oh.
But it kind of had this feeling that it was a small community. Like everyone in the community kind of felt like it's this small game that people need to find out about. It was doing very well for an indie, even from the beginning. But I think it took a little bit of time for it to get as much recognition as the game itself deserved, because looking at it now, 7 years on, everyone can kind of agree it was very influential. It was a big deal. It changed kind of the whole Metroidvania genre, I feel.
Yeah, but it's a little bit of an interesting game because I think it has way more than meets the eye initially. So like takes people a while to warm up to it and kind of realize what it is.
Yeah. It's got a very slow start, I think. Like it takes a while for the game to reveal itself to you.
Exactly.
And I know my feeling, I think the last area I discovered was the Hive. And when I found it, I was like, oh my goodness, how much more is in this game?
Right.
When I got to Soul Master, I thought that was like the end game.
Man.
So like,
yeah, I mean, yeah, the amount of content they packed in there and like the way they like slowly. The Hive is a great example because it's just this very unassuming breakable wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're just like, no way, like I could have missed this, and it's like whatever, an hour, like 2 hours of content maybe, or something. Even like the Path of Pain too. I guess that was added later, but like when I saw that location of the Path of Pain, I was like, what? All of this is here behind something like that is so easily missed, right?
Yeah, Path of Pain is really hard to find. It's like you have to look that up.
You got to look it up, exactly.
Yeah, the Hive, I think you could. It's easy to miss, but you could naturally discover it.
Right.
When did you play Hollow Knight for the first time?
Oh man, like if I'm being honest, I picked it up kind of early on, and after my first death, I realized you lost all your geo, and I was just like, dude, absolutely
Oh,
fuck this game,
yeah, it's so
right?
punishing.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
didn't realize you could go and pick it up because I never played like that genre of game before, like that the Soulsy
Oh,
element.
yeah, yeah.
So I just had no idea. I'm like, really? You lose all your geo? Like I had whatever 3K or whatever, and I was just like done at that moment, and I put it down for about 2 years, and it wasn't until like I heard a lot of more people talking about it, and like praising it that I really got into it. And at that moment, I was just hooked. Once you understand what's going on and like the gameplay loop and how much attention to detail is in everything. Yeah, it's totally earned all the praise that it received, and yeah, it definitely influenced like me as a game developer as well.
Yeah, and you can see it everywhere with
Oh,
games like Crowsworn and
yeah,
um
all the holo-likes that are
all the
coming.
hololikes. Yep, yep.
Which brings us to our next topic is like, what do you make of that the holo-like genre? Do you think it's a real thing? I know it's a little controversial. Like some people are like, are they clones? Are they doing something new?
Well, I'd say it's definitely a thing. There's lots of games that are clearly inspired by Hollow Knight, and I think they own up to it. They wear that on their sleeve. And I think when you look at a game like Crowsworn that raised $1 million on Kickstarter, people want more Hollow-like games. I think developers want to make games like Hollow Knight, and people want to play games like Hollow Knight. So I think that's a good thing. I'm all for it. And there's lots of different styles that you can do to change up the how Hollow Knight plays, like adding. I think there's some games with parry mechanics and games that have more like agility, like your game Bow. I think takes kind of some Hollow Knight stuff and mixes it with more Ori
Right.
um, momentum and movement based mechanics
Right.
to create something new, which I think is really cool. I think it's awesome. It's the same thing that Team Cherry did when they took from games that they liked and created something new from them.
Right. Yeah, I think it's perfectly natural for people to immediately draw the comparison to Hollow Knight for like any number of games, right? There's a few that are kind of in the Hollow-like genre right now causing a buzz. It's just natural. It's like what people know, they're going to compare it to what they know, and maybe it's not until the game actually, like the Hollow-like game comes out and people kind of understand how it's a little bit different, how the game feels totally different, or that they come to understand that it's an iteration on like the Hollow Knight's formula, and it can stand on its own.
Yeah, I think it's totally positive. I sometimes see people in the community bash these games, and I'm not a huge fan of it. I think there are some instances where it's warranted. There are a couple examples I've seen where it's very clear they copied, they looked at an art asset from Hollow Knight and traced it. But I think more games get that label than deserve. I think some games look similar, but are clearly they still put in a lot of work, and I don't think they're directly stealing anything. Ultimately, it's what the people perceive. So when you're a developer, you just have to be really smart with how you take influence, for
For
sure.
sure. Yeah, that's something that we were careful with in the beginning of our development too. It helps too when people kind of call you out, and kind of helps you, like forces you to carve your own identity out a little bit more. They kind of light a fire under you. So you're like, okay, so how do I, because we have a pogo in our game, right?
Yeah.
Just because the pogo from Hollow Knight was such a simple yet infinitely deep mechanic, that like the value they got out of that mechanic,
It's amazing.
it's crazy. Like that one simple down swipe that allows you to like get a little bit of aerial velocity in the Y, like it made the game like 10 times more deep. Like I don't even think it's quantifiable. So anyway, we wanted to kind of like expand on the Pogo, say like how could we like make our game kind of central around that, and that's how like we came up with those ideas of like Bo being a more aerial kind of game.
No, I think that's totally fair because it's because the Pogo's not original Hollow Knight. It's
true.
It's in DuckTales, it's in Zelda 2, it's in Shovel Knight, and those games get a lot out of it too. But Hollow Knight with the double jump and the dash, it makes it feel very unique, I think, to Hollow Knight, where it's like, especially when you're in areas like the Coliseum of Fools or the White Palace, you get a lot of really cool interactions from the Pogo resetting your double jump and I think it resets your dash as well. Like,
right.
It's really cool. And I don't think devs should feel bad at all about taking that, because Hollow Knight didn't invent it at all. It just used it really well. Yeah,
it took it to the next level. I think at this point we can go into talking about your game, Titan Shell. Was there a point in time where you kind of like realized you wanted to step into the world of game dev, or was it gradual?
Well, I'd say it all started. Well, I guess it started when I was a kid. You know, every kid who's into video games dreams about that. But in 2018, I was making a YouTube video about the development of Hollow Knight and went through Team Cherry's journey to making that game. And that was a very inspirational video for me making it. It got me kind of wanting to try it out for myself. And with my YouTube channel kind of becoming more popular, I can't remember how many subscribers I had at that point. It might have been like 25,000. And that was in late 2018. So kind of like I was saying, it was a gradual growth of my channel, because it had been about a year and I was only around 25,000.
So which video? What was the title of that video?
Team Cherry Lore and Plot Explained.
Oh, okay, cool.
I think is what it was called. Yeah, which I was really proud of that video. It was a lot of fun to make.
How did you research that? Did you contact Team Cherry at all for that one?
I was talking to Greg, so their playtester. He's on Discord a lot, and I chat with him occasionally. I try not to bother Team Cherry at all because, you know, they're busy. Greg, I don't care. I'll bother him as much as I want. But so he was like, he kind of answered some questions for me, but a lot of it was like checking out the Kickstarter, listening to interviews. I really like finding Team Cherry interviews. I keep a big document that has all of their interviews, like links to them all put together, just because I really I want to preserve that stuff and make it easy for people to find.
Right, because they're a bit rare.
Yeah, but there's quite a few, honestly, that I've found over the years.
Specifically with that video, was there like something that really resonated with you in the game dev process that you felt like you wanted to experience?
That's an interesting question. I suppose it's just I wanted to make a game. You know, I want to be able to have a piece of art that I had created, because that would feel really satisfying, and also just like the ability to have a creative outlet. Because the YouTube channel, I think really, when I started doing the YouTube channel, I felt this real sense of freedom of creative expression, where it's like I got to explore an artistic side of myself that I felt like I hadn't been able to really in the same way. And I was really enjoying it. So I guess I looked at game development at the time as like, this is another avenue where I can really express myself and kind of do something creative.
Right. And what I always say about game dev is it involves all the disciplines, right? Audio, visual, storytelling, animation, like gameplay is definitely an art. Like what's like the art of what is fun. It's a coalescence of so many creative disciplines that, like, for someone who's a creative like you, it's just like the Mount Everest. Like, I gotta climb it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like in a sandbox versus in the Moby Desert.
Exactly.
There's just so much more you can do, like writing your own stories, writing your own characters, setting up your own kind of world.
Yeah.
There's a lot more creativity in certain ways versus a YouTube video. I'm not going to say that there's not as you can do tons of creative stuff with YouTube, and those are the kinds of videos I really like, is the people who do something different, you know, going outside the norm of what YouTube videos are. That stuff's amazing, and I think it's really cool. But I felt like making that video, it kind of lit a fire under me to really want to try game development and explore that kind of creativity.
Cool. So right after that video, what was the timeline after that? I guess you decided when you made that video, or during the making of that video. When did you actually start taking steps, and what were those first steps?
Let's see here. I think it was Christmas 2018. I watched some random video. It was called like, "Are NES games badly designed?" And it was a response video to someone else who was saying NES games are poorly designed. And the other guy was saying like, "No, NES games have great design. They still work today." And he showed a clip of what's the game called? Blaster Master. And I was like, "Oh, I should make a game like Blaster Master." Because Blaster Master, I don't know if you know about it, but
I don't.
For anyone who doesn't, basically it's sort of like a Metroidvania. There wasn't really, the concept of a Metroidvania didn't exist back then in the same way it does now. Basically, there was an overworld where you had a tank that you drove around in, but you could jump out of it and be a little pilot wandering around in the overworld, and you could go into dungeons, and the dungeons were top down while the overworld was side scrolling. And I looked at that and I thought that'd be a really cool kind of game to make nowadays. I was looking at games like Shovel Knight, which Shovel Knight was just Mega Man, but modernized, or maybe not modernized, but like done again with a bit more modern sensibilities, but keeping that original gameplay. So then I reached out to my cousin, who was an artist, and we started kicking around the idea for a game. And then we brought in his brother, who was a programmer who was fiddling with his own little project at the time. And we just started exploring ideas and, trying to make something.
Oh, that's cool. So I didn't know they were your cousins.
Yep. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yep. So we were all kids sitting around dreaming up, making games and like RPG Maker and stuff. Even back then, he was using like Game Maker, I don't know, 4 or 5. I'm not sure what it was, but the really old Game Maker programs, like he was doing that as a kid, making games for his family to play and stuff like that.
Cool. So it would seem like it was kind of an obvious thing to happen with your connections and your background. It's like you were always going to probably make a game. Did you feel that way?
Honestly, I didn't. It wasn't until, because I was living in a different city for college at the time, and we weren't hanging out as much, the three of us. I didn't see him as often. I think Sam, our programmer, he kind of always expected to go that way. I didn't expect to go that way. It's just my path kind of came back. It diverged and came back. The road of life is like that, I suppose.
So at the end of 2018, you said, is when you started kind of doing the initial design docs and stuff, or?
That's when I started thinking about making a game, I'd say. And the game Titan Shell is a little bit different from the game we had envisioned.
Tell me about that. What was the first idea?
Well, the first game kind of had more top-down sections. We kind of wanted to take like Enter the Gungeons style of gameplay,
okay,
and mix that with a more side-scrolling type of style. But we decided to kind of, instead of because we'd basically have to make 2 games if we did that. And we're like, let's start with 1 game. So
did that game have a working title?
There is a name, but I won't tell you.
Oh, okay. All good.
In case we ever want to use it later.
Oh, for sure. It was the great name, apparently. You want to?
Yeah. I really like the name.
Okay. Okay, cool.
So
And so in the early stages, like the game is pretty amorphous, right? When did it really start to click? Like when were you like, oh, this is the game. This is what we're gonna do.
I'd say it wasn't until 2021 um,
Okay.
where I had just quit my full-time job because YouTube was doing well enough for me that I could kind of sustain myself. Uh, so I came to my cousins and I said, let's really try and do something here, because before that it was just kind of working in our free time, noodling at this or that, trying to make a game, but it wasn't like a serious commitment yet. And so that's sort of when Titan Shell, as it is currently, kind of came into view for us, and we came up with sort of the world and the story and what the game was going to be like. And then I started working on it like part time. Basically, we were all kind of part time on it, and then next year in 2022 is when the Kickstarter happened, and that's when we went full time. So
Cool. And yeah, the Kickstarter was very successful. And how much of the game did you have finished, like at that point in time?
less than we thought we did.
Oh yeah, that's how it goes, right?
Yeah. It's like, okay, we've got the core now, so now we can just start doing the content. We turns out there was a few more things we still had to do. So
that never ends.
yeah,
Like a few more things. It's always a few more things. But at some point, those few things start to dwindle, and yeah,
yep.
it feels weird.
So, yeah, I think that's more where we're at now, where it's like now we think we have most of the core done, and it's mostly content.
Right. Cool.
So, and that's a lot. That's really fun, getting into the content making part of it. So
that's the most enjoyable part for me as well.
Yeah.
And then finally being able to do all the things you were thinking about when you were doing all the kind of more foundational stuff. It's like, okay, that's all done. Now we can, all this stuff that was like compiling in your mind and like cluttering it, you could finally let it breathe into the project.
Exactly.
Yeah, great feeling. So you mentioned Blaster Master earlier, right? As one of the, I guess, core inspirations for the game. Would you say that?
Yeah, I'd say so. It's in practice, it's not really like Blaster Master at all, but that's kind of the core of where it all started.
Like spiritually, kind of.
Yeah.
So would you say, like, what other games or even media would you say that you drew inspiration from?
I would say Enter the Gungeon is kind of a big one for us. We really like that style of, roguelike kind of game.
But the game Titan Shell is not a roguelike. Am I right?
It's a roguelite, I suppose, where it's like there is permanent changes, which I think Enter the Gungeon's the same way, where it's you unlock stuff as you go and get more weaponry that can appear throughout a run and stuff like that. But yeah, we are a roguelite.
Okay.
I guess
there's a lot of terms are so. To be honest, I'm embarrassed that I don't know the exact definitions of roguelite.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think
people say it matters. It doesn't.
Yeah, they're so subtle and like, I don't know. It's always evolving too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's like a list of what needs to be done for it to be a roguelike, and most roguelikes don't follow it. So when you die, you have to restart from the first level. To me, that's what a roguelike is.
That's the core. And if you say roguelite, then you're safe. It's kind of like, hey, we didn't say roguelike.
It just makes it hazy. It's like putting ish at the end of a word.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
So yeah, in our game, you are prisoners in a prison you escape, and you're trying to make it to the capital, and the police are trying to catch you. And so if you lose the game, the police catch you and they put you back in prison, and you have to start from the beginning again. So that's sort of what makes it a roguelite or a roguelike, I guess.
Okay, cool. And so you kind of explained just there, like the narrative of the game, and I'm wondering, did that evolve over time, or did you kind of know that from the beginning?
That was sort of that was kind of from the beginning of when we decided it was going to be a roguelite. We came up with the idea of you are a convict breaking out of prison, and every run is an attempt at, you know, getting out. And then it kind of just became this, well, you're trying to get somewhere specifically. And so every run is trying to break out of prison and go there. And we thought that was a really fun idea for a roguelike, to kind of have that explanation for why things are resetting.
Oh, that's perfect. And it's not like a time, like you go back in time type thing. It's like they catch you and they put you back in, and you're just escaping again. So
yeah.
So are there characters who are like, yo, what the fuck? Like, you're breaking out again? Or how does that?
Well, the prison is overcrowded and underfunded. Well, they're not underfunded, but they put the funding in the wrong things. It's just very mismanaged. And some people who work in the prison aren't necessarily really that worried about it. And they also like having an excuse to chase people down. So there's just kind of an amalgamation of reasons as to why the main characters are able to escape so often. So
I guess that kind of brings me to like, what's the tone of the game? Is it like humorous or a little more serious?
I'd say a bit more lighthearted. But as things get revealed, as things go on, some more serious themes will start to emerge.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, the setting is kind of dire. It's set in a world where
You describe it as dystopian.
Yeah. So the nation's called Sonder. It's kind of this big mountain, and people live in these domes, which are where the cities are, and people are kind of kept in there. You can travel, but it's not very common. And there's one big church that is sort of in charge of things. They tell people what's right and what's wrong, what's legal and what's illegal. And then they have a police force that enforces those rules. And recently they've started having very strange rules and laws that are just arbitrary, like random curfews. You can't wear certain colors on certain days. And the whole world is just kind of falling into chaos because of that. The police are just enforcing these laws, and, you know, people are fleeing and living out in the wild. People are being sent to prisons, and everything's just kind of becoming unstable. So it's kind of we wanted to kind of have like, the things that are happening are ridiculous, that the church is enforcing, but it does have serious consequences for a lot of the characters, as well.
That's so interesting. And when you're writing this story, like, because this is something I have trouble with sometimes, of like keeping the story straight and keeping like, when we're adding like these new elements of like this tribe or this like sect of people, like how it meshes with all of the pre-existing elements of the game. Like, how do you manage that? Do you have like some spreadsheet or like a document where you're just or is it all in the dome?
We use a OneNote, I think, the Microsoft app. I have a big a bunch of factions and, character sheets. So like, here's the character, here's their motivations, here's who they get along with, here's who they wouldn't get along with.
Interesting.
Here's where maybe they're from, which will inform a bit of like their cultural sensibilities and stuff like that. Because people who live in the domes near the capital are a little bit different than the people who live towards the base of the mountain. You kind of have different cultures there. The church works with different groups, and the different groups have different reasons for working with the church, and all of that. I try to make notes in the OneNote, but it is also a lot of the three of us start just chatting about random stuff, and we write down some key things and then forget some of it. And then we have to remember it later, or we change it later, that kind of stuff. Because until it's in the game, it's very, free form.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it too. It's like, free form, but you can shape it, and over time it takes shape until like there's one period in development where the story just feels like it came together, despite all of these elements you're throwing in. Yeah, it's a good feeling.
And that's probably my favorite part, is writing the story.
Oh yeah, I would imagine, right? I didn't want to
so fun.
assume, but I imagine like writing the story and all the lore and like, coming up with these cultures, and like the way you were just speaking about it, I could tell you were super passionate about that particular like element.
Yeah, because me, Dylan, and Sam will just start throwing ideas at each other, and an hour will pass, and we'll just have developed this whole entire new character who's crucial to what's going on, and has a really interesting backstory.
Cool.
And we're like, just can't wait to get this guy in the game, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking out like all that. And the lore drop, like there's going to be think about it, there's going to be a Mossbag Titan shell. That's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I'm excited to see.
Who's it going to be?
Yeah, who's going to step up to the plate?
So a question I want to ask like all the guests moving forward is like, what video games are you currently playing right now?
I honestly don't play as many games as I should. I think the last game I really played was Curse of the Sea Rats. Me and Dylan and Sam and another friend all got together and tried the 4-player co-op for that.
Was that a little bit of research based? Like,
yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Co-op element?
Because that's another game that was kind of well, this was more for like Hollow Knight stuff, because I think this game was influenced by Hollow Knight. So I was curious to see like, how do you do Hollow Knight with multiplayer? And it was interesting, I'll say. It was like amazing animation, like shockingly good. I was like, wow, they're really investing a lot into that. Like, definitely top tier in that way. Yeah, I really like rats. I don't know why, but I'm a big fan of rats.
Big rat fan? What about what's that one? Tales of Iron.
Is that like the RPG where they have like switchblade knives or something?
It's like it's like a rat. I don't know if it's a Metroidvania actually, but it's a really cool aesthetic. It is set in a grim land plagued by war. Tales of Iron is a hand-drawn RPG adventure.
Okay, yeah, it looks kind of like a Salt and Sanctuary type game.
Oh yeah. I'm sure it
reminds me of that style.
But it's beautiful. Like we were inspired by this game a lot, like aesthetically too.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
I haven't played it, but I was just like, wow, they did a really good job in the art direction.
Yeah, when I was a kid, my older brothers had watched like read the Redwall books. Have you heard of Redwall?
No.
Redwall is a fantasy world with mice, and they have castles, and I think there's like snakes and other creatures. I really don't remember much of it, but
I mean, that sounds a lot like this game, except there's frogs in this game.
Oh, right. Okay.
Oh, this looks like it's right up your alley. You might want to. They just came out with like a DLC for it too, I believe. Or are they coming out with a sequel? Something like that.
Tales of Iron. Okay, I will have to look into this.
If you're a rat guy, which you have made known just now, then
big on rats and mice.
Rats.
So,
okay.
And I think Redwall with for our game, because I don't know if you've in the trailer, there's a giant mole.
Yeah, I loved that. That was so cool.
Yeah, that's kind of taking, I think, from the kind of the idea of like big creatures that are usually small, like, or being small in a big world, that kind of thing. I love that stuff.
Yeah, that was a really cool moment in your trailer. I loved that. That brings us to the next question. It's more video game related stuff, but like, what do you think is like an underrated game that needs more attention?
So I haven't actually played this. I've been wanting to play it. I think it looks amazing. It's called Archvale. Have you heard of this?
Oh, is that Curve Digital? Uh,
Uh,
yeah.
IDAWs and
Oh
FOPs.
no, this is Humble. This is Humble Games. Oh my God. This
Oh
is
yeah,
from
you
us.
should know this then. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I knew the name immediately, and I don't know why I thought Curve, but yeah, Humble.
but I think it's like it's kind of like the top-down Enter the Gungeon style, but I think it's like got progression and like an overworld that you explore. It
It's
looks
embarrassing that I don't know more about this.
it
Other,
looks really cool. I was following their dev logs. Like before the game came out, they were doing dev logs. And I was like, this game looks dope. I just haven't played it yet, unfortunately. But Leth from Team Cherry, he's working with them on their next game.
oh no way!
Well, yeah, I think Leth sees, that they made a really cool game, and so he's reaching out to him.
Cool,
So
he's expanding.
yeah, if I'm because I mean, like before Hollow Knight, he worked with Stardew Valley. So
Oh,
he's got, Leth has worked with quite a few games.
he did marketing
So
for Stardew Valley, or
he was
something.
so who was it? I think he was with a company at the time. So that company worked with Stardew Valley, and he worked for the company.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
he was involved, but it wasn't like what's going on with Team Cherry, where he was just kind of directly hired by them.
Right. Okay,
Um,
I didn't know that.
but yeah, he's working with the Archvale devs on their next game. So I'm really excited to see what they're making, because Archvale looks really cool, and I do want to play it at some point. So, but I don't think a lot of people. I don't hear about it that often. So it might be underrated. Maybe it's super popular, and I'm just in the dark. But
All right. So also we have some quick questions from the Discord community. I want to make sure we get to them. Here's just like one really easy one. Cats or dogs?
cats.
Cats. I'm the same. Do you have any cats?
No, my roommate has allergy or is allergic to cats or something. So
Oh,
like,
that's a shame.
and I don't know. I don't want fur and smell everywhere, but
Yeah.
I do love cats.
I like the idea of cats, and I love a cat. In Thailand, there's cats just like roaming the streets everywhere, like stray cats. And
Right.
you just always want to pet, which is great. That's one reason I like to live here. Let's see. The next question from Forserg1 is, do you feel like you're running out of Hollow Knight content at this point?
Maybe. The thing is, people have been saying that for years.
That's true.
When I was posting videos in 2021, people were like, "You're running out of ideas." I think is Hollow Knight art was the first video where people started saying that, and that's been.
I think that's a great topic.
Yeah. I that was a fun video because it let me explore a different kind of concept. That was kind of my first. Here's a scripted video where I'm trying to make arguments that isn't entirely about Hollow Knight. I had fun working on that video. It is kind of a question our video games art that gets brought up a lot, and I think some people are kind of sick and tired of it. But I still enjoyed kind of exploring it for myself and, making that video.
Yeah, I think like that was perfectly put. Is like people said that a long time ago, and you just proved them wrong over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, we won't have to wait too much longer for Silksong, hopefully, and then that's just going to be another decade of content.
Yeah. But I think like I have like a couple ideas. I would say, I'm pretty low on ideas right now for that. But it's just like I'm working on my game, so I figured put my time and my priority into that as opposed to, working on the Hollow Knight stuff, because once Silksong comes out, I'm going to be, pretty busy putting out content for that. So, but I have a couple ideas for videos I want to make. It's just, I don't know if now's the right time for it.
Okay. Yeah, take it easy, man. The videos you do put out are just like, I can tell they take an insane amount of work. So,
well, I think being picky about what I do videos on has been good for me, because I want a Mossbag video to feel like an event, to feel like this is something you need to watch as a Hollow Knight fan or as a Mossbag fan. It's like, because I'm subscribed to a lot of channels where it's like they post frequently and I never watch them because their videos aren't necessarily special to me, you know.
Oh, so there's an element of like it happens so infrequently that it has value because of that.
Yeah, and I think that there's nothing wrong with uploading frequently. I don't think that people who do that are wrong. But I personally, my favorite content creators are people like, you know, H Bomber Guy, who they put out a video very infrequently, but
It's
they're
an
big
event,
deals.
like you said.
Yeah.
I know exactly. Yeah.
My videos aren't quite to that caliber, but that's sort of what I am aiming for.
Yeah, there are a few people who do it that way, and it just hits different.
Exactly.
Actually, I think that's a good place to wrap it up, about an hour. And I just want to say thanks for being our first ever guest. And I would love to speak to you again, like maybe either around your release or post-release once everything's cooled down a bit.
Yeah, that'd be good. We can do a then and now.
For sure.
Where are they now?
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Is this Squid show?
Squid Shock.
Squid Shock.
I barely know the name. It's so new.
As the
Squid
podcast.
Shock Gaming, Squid Shock Gaming podcast. Yeah.
Okay. Squid Shock Gaming podcast. Where are they now? And it'll be an expose, you know, kind of piece.
For sure.
Really, really dig deep. So
I will wait for that day.
Yep. I'll either be in a gold mansion or in a pile of garbage. So we'll see.
One or the other. Well, thanks, Mossbag, and see everyone in the next episode.
Bye, everybody.
Again, I want to thank Mossbag for joining us, and I want to remind everyone to subscribe to Mossbag on YouTube and to wishlist his game Titan Shell on Steam. All of those links will be in the description below. So thanks again, and see you next time.